creative operation, and I am here today to share with you my third design team project for Country Craft Creations using Graphic 45's Ocean Blue line. This isn't really a tutorial as much as it is a share, but I'm going to tell you how exactly I did this, and then y'all can go ahead and make another one, for yourselves if you want to. I apologize for that, but this is pretty simple, and when you see how and what it is, then you'll understand why I'm not doing an official tutorial on this. What I also am doing is I took some pictures, so as I'm talking it'll stop for a second. You're going to see a still picture of some stuff. So I did take a picture of the base that I started with to make this book, and then I also took some pictures of what I had left over from my design team package and what I was able to do with the few things that I had left over. I only had one full 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock left and a bunch of scraps, and then I had some die cuts and stickers and some seam binding and ribbon and things like that. So this is what I came up with, and I hope you like it. So what I did was I kind of did a take on a traveler's notebook, and I created basically a giant one. I had, and this is where you're going to see a picture, a card keeper that I bought 100 years ago and had in my stash, and because I had such limited paper to play with, I thought I'm going to recover it and remake it and turn it into something really cool. So that's what I did. In that picture you'll see that it had some gold elastic in it that was very old and very loose. So what I ended up doing was I tore the whole book entirely apart and then redid it. So you could make your own out of your own chipboard very simply, and I will put the measurements in the description so you can have them. But basically this album is 9 inches tall and 7 inches wide, and the spine is 3 inches wide. Where did I write that down? I believe it's 3 inches wide. Let's double check. Yes, it's 3 inches wide. So if you wanted to make your own out of your own chipboard, you'll need 2 at 7 by 9 for the covers, and you'll need 1 at 3 by 9 for the spine. So what I ended up doing was I used some black artisan cardstock, and then I just basically recovered it and made another cover for it. I just covered everything up. You saw in the picture that it was like a celebration birthday card keeper. I totally transformed it into a black cover. And then I was able to decorate. So the front and the back paper, this was the one sheet of cardstock that I had left over. So I cut it at 6, and then I used some strips of the pattern paper that I had left over to fill in the gap, and then the stickers here on the back and then on the front to decorate it a little bit. So I toyed with punching this one like I did my first book as far as punching the edges, but I decided not to do that. Then I had a partial sheet of the cut aparts, the 3x4 cut aparts. So I decided that was going to be how I was going to do the cover decoration. And I didn't do a whole lot of bulky decoration because this is meant to be like a journal or like an oversized traveler's notebook. So I didn't want to do a whole bunch of bulky stuff on the cover. I did use some of the bling that I love to use because the die cuts that I got in my Graphic 45 Ocean Blue design team package had these die cuts in them, and they're just gorgeous. They're little butterflies. Like, you wouldn't expect that to be on an ocean type album, but I loved them. So I picked 3 of them, and then I added some bling, to kind of express the flight. But that's how I decorated the cover. Now on the spine here, I used one of my little Tim Holtz fasteners that I had in my stash, and then the leftover seam binding and ribbon that I had, I just made a small tassel and put through there for the spine decoration. So that's how I used up the rest of that. I just have a little bit of that left over, but basically I used all of it up. And then I also used that ribbon on the closure as well. So the ribbon closure, real simple ribbon closure. So when you open it up, again, I didn't have a lot of pattern paper left over, so a lot of this is scraps. I had a couple sheets that were fairly good sized scraps, and then I had a lot of little scraps, so that's what I did. So in the picture, and I think I'll show it again right now, there was this base here that I tore off of the book. And then what I did was I used a Sharpie marker to color the chipboard. And then I covered the outside chipboard with black. And then I restrung the elastic so that it would make like a traveler's notebook. So this elastic was in my stash, and then I glued it down like super well between this piece here, which is I'm gonna call the elastic holder. I glued that directly to the back spine. So I just covered the inside of the cover with a piece of cardstock like we always do, and then I created out of just plain cardstock 2 pockets. And those pockets, let me see, I'll show you my notes here. So those pockets measured 9 7/8 by 9 3/4. So on the 9 7/8 inch, so if you can imagine, this is obviously not to scale, but if you can imagine the 9 7/8 inch side is here, I scored it 1/2 inch on each side, and then I turned it, and on the 9 3/4 inch side, I just scored it at 6 3/4. And then I cut out those pink parts, and then made little tabs on either side, and that part folded up and became the pocket. So I did one of those for each side. So now we have, let me grab a piece of scratch paper here. We have a nice vertical pocket on each side. And then I just used a piece of the cardstock, or the pattern paper, excuse me, that was left over, and some stickers, and just embellished that pocket. So when I did the spine elastics, I did 6 of them because I knew it was going to be pretty thick. Now I made 4 books. I still have 2 elastics that I could put a book on. I ran out of the size paper that I used for the inside of the book. So I need to get some more. And I also, from Country Craft Creations, just last night ordered some more ocean blue paper so that I can decorate those 2 books. So, because I am pretty much out. I just have little bits left, and I'll show you that at the end. So anyways, what I did was I made booklets, and these booklets are pretty good size. They measure roughly 5 3/4 by 6, excuse me, 5 3/4 across by 8 1/2 tall. So I used the white paper. I used some 8 1/2 by 14 paper that I had in my stash so that I could have a really nice big notebook. So these are huge notebooks. They each had 10 pages stapled, so 20 pages, or 20 leaves, I should say, which makes 40 pages in each of these notebooks, and I made 4 of these. So then I took another fairly large piece of cardstock that I had. I covered them in cardstock, and then I took pattern paper and made the cover, and then I used some stickers and embellished the front of this one. Okay, and I'll take these out at the end and I'll show you the spine better. Put some stickers just on the back, left the back kind of plain. And then I do have some stickers left over, not too many, but I do have some, and some die cuts. So I thought I would go through the pages after the fact, and I would stick these on some of these pages. So it would be a really cool, pretty decorated journal on the inside as well. This cover here, I just basically used some strips of the pattern paper that was left over and one of the cut-aparts to make the cover. And again, I didn't put a whole lot of embellishments on them because when you open it up and you're going to want to write, you know, when you get to like this side page here, you're not going to want a whole lot of bulk that you're trying to write over. So I kept it fairly flat. So then when you turn this book, again, another sticker. On this page, and I got some ink on my thing. I need to fix that. But anyway, this covered with cardstock again. And then I used, there was this one piece that was like a nice 4x6 piece of patterned paper, and I really liked kind of the steampunk jellyfish that are here. At least that's what they remind me of. I'm not sure that they really are supposed to be steampunk, but that's what they remind me of. And I backed it with some cardstock and then used some photo corners that were in the sticker pack. And then this banner piece was from the cut apart, and I just backed it with some black cardstock and then made the cover for that book. And then the back of that is here. And then on this cover right here, this is a strip of brown cardstock that I layered this piece of patterned paper strip that I had left over with the pretty fish, and then 2 of the stickers on either side to create the cover for that. Oh, pardon me, my TV just popped on. And then the back, here's another sticker. And then here is the pocket on the back side that covers the cardboard piece here. So that's how I kind of utilized all of my scraps to make this, and it actually turned out really, really nice. So I'm going to take out all the books and I will show you what it looks like without the books. So we've got, I put 6 elastics in here. Again, they were from my stash. And then I wrapped them around the back. I had crimper pieces. Let me show you those. I'll get them real quick. Okay, so I'm going to get one and I'll show you how I did it on camera here. So basically you'll need for each of these, they're 8 inches long piece of elastic, and it's a fairly thick piece of elastic. And so I cut them in half and they ended up being 8 inches, and that worked out really well to give a nice kind of more sturdy, tight fit for your book. And then I got these crimper beads, and they're just in the jewelry shop. You kind of have to search for them because they're kind of hard to find. But they have a fairly large hole in them, so you can stick the elastic in there. The one thing I did have to do was I did have to kind of cut an angle to the end of my elastic to help stick them in this crimper bead. Just about halfway. Did it to both sides. Go ahead and just make a little, I don't know if you can see that, but just a small angle, just so it'll help you guide it in there because it's kind of fat. And then so I stuck them in there nice into the center, and then just grab a pair of pliers, my handy dandy crafting pliers, and I put them in there and then just squish it as hard as you can, and make sure start in the middle, go to the ends, and squish it as hard as you can. And then it'll be fairly flat. You can see how it kind of went from round to flat, and that's going to be pretty strong. So when I wrapped them around the this elastic holder piece that was in the book that I tore apart and recovered, when I wrapped them around, this laid flat on the back side, and then I used I used art glitter glue to glue it down, and then I used my huge clamps to clamp it down, and I let it dry overnight. I used these clamps on either side, and it worked amazing. You are not going to get this piece off of the spine, and these things are glued because I put glue all the way around here too, and all along the elastic on the back to help really secure it down. So I don't think this is gonna fall apart. And if it does, wow, I'm gonna be really shocked because I really glued it and it works really well. And I've used art glitter glue for a lot of stuff and have had absolutely no problems with it whatsoever. So that is my project. Like I said, I still need to make 2 more notebooks, but I need to get that size paper so that I can do that. You could even, this would be cute if you put like different size notebooks in too, if you wanted to do that just for a little bit of variety. I love these notebooks in that you can take these out. You don't have to like totally leave them all in. You can take them out, throw them in your purse if you're going to do some journaling, and then come back and then put them in this cover. So anyway, this is my oversized traveler's notebook style notebook. And again, I'll have the dimensions down in the description part, so that if you wanted to make your own, you could. This is just a traditional wrapped cover. You could totally do the lay flat cover if you wanted to. But I'll have all that listed. But this was a really kind of a cool idea. And it was an idea that was neat, because that book that I bought, you saw it at the beginning, I wasn't going to use it like that. I wanted to dress it up, and I thought this was perfect and a great way to use up your scraps. So I'll show you really quick how many scraps I have left over. Not very many. Not very many. Let me get my... So this is pretty much all I have left of my design team package. So there's a couple more pieces I'll bring up, but yeah, this is pretty much it. That is, I pretty much used what I could use to make this project. So I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I think you will be too. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I, again, will leave all of the description and the measurements and everything down below. If you have any questions at all, let me know. Oh, the one thing I will show you is that elastic holder. If you can see that right here. So it was basically 8 7/8 long by 2 7/8 wide, and it's just a piece of chipboard. Again, I used a Sharpie to color the edges just so it would blend in with the black paper that I used to do the inside. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then what it had was a notch cut out of it. You can see this notch, I hope, right here where the elastic goes in. So there's like a little 1/4 inch piece here that kind of helps, I guess, secure them in there. But if you glue it down, I suppose you wouldn't need those. But that's how it was. So I just covered it with black paper, and then once I glued it down and it was nice and dry, I took an X-Acto knife and I cut the paper around those notches. But that's basically what that piece looks like. So when you see that in the description, just know that you can come back to the video and you can see this, and you can stop it and look at this. So that's kind of my notes that I took while I was making the project. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay safe, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.